What if the next time you reach into your pocket, you're holding a coin worth a life-changing amount of money? I'm talking about a simple penny. Not gold, not silver. Just a small copper coin most people ignore every day. But one very specific penny from 1941 has shocked collectors, because under the right conditions, it can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. And here's the crazy part. Millions of these coins were made, but a few extremely rare versions are hiding in plain sight. Some experts say one could sell for a staggering price if the right collector finds it.so before you spend another penny. You might want to check your change, because the 1941 wheat penny with no mint mark has a story that most people have never heard. And once you know what to look for, you might start seeing pennies very differently. Back in 1941, the United States was on the edge of a massive historical moment. The country was about to enter World War II, and the U.S. Mint was producing huge numbers of coins for circulation. That year, millions upon millions of Lincoln wheat pennies rolled off the presses. Most of them looked exactly the same dot on the front, Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait. On the back, 2 wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent. Simple, ordinary, easy to ignore. But here's where things get interesting. Some of the pennies made in 1941 were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and those coins carry no mint mark at all. At first glance, that doesn't seem special. In fact, most people assume no mint mark means nothing unusual, but sometimes, the smallest details turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. During the minting process in the early 1940s, the machinery used to strike coins wasn't always perfect. Dies wore down, metal shifted, and occasionally, tiny minting mistakes slipped through quality control. Most people spent those coins without ever noticing. Decades passed, and those tiny minting quirks slowly became the things collectors obsess over. One of the most fascinating discoveries involves certain 1941 no mint mark wheat pennies that show extremely rare characteristics. And when those features appear together, the value can explode. Now imagine this. A coin collector sits down with a magnifying glass, examining a jar of old pennies from a garage sale. Nothing special at first, just worn copper coins. Then suddenly, something catches their eye. The date looks slightly unusual, the lettering appears sharper than expected, and the surface has a strange shine. That's when the excitement starts, because some 1941 wheat pennies without a mint mark were struck with exceptional detail, sometimes using fresh dyes that created coins with nearly perfect features. When one of those coins survives in pristine condition after more than 80 years, collectors go wild. And condition matters more than most people realize. A worn 1941 wheat penny might only be worth a few cents, but a nearly flawless one, that's a completely different story. Coins graded at the very top of the scale, what collectors call mint state 67 or higher, are incredibly rare. Think about it. These coins circulated through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and pockets for decades. Most got scratched, bent, or damaged. Very few stayed perfect, and when one does, it becomes a treasure. Auction records have shown certain high-grade Lincoln wheat pennies selling for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, simply because their condition is so rare. But there's another twist collectors look for. Some 1941 pennies show subtle die varieties, small differences in the way the coin was struck. These can include doubled lettering, unusual spacing in the date, or tiny design shifts caused by the minting dies. To the average person, it might look like nothing. To a collector, it's everything. And that's why experts say a rare combination. A 1941 no-mint mark penny with exceptional condition and a unique variety could attract intense bidding from collectors who want the best example known. Now imagine the tension in an auction room. Two collectors competing, the price climbing higher and higher. $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. It sounds unbelievable for a penny, but in the world of rare coins, it happens more often than people think. And here's the part that keeps collectors searching. Many of these coins are still out there, hidden in old jars, forgotten in coin albums, mixed inside pocket change that people never bother to examine. Every year, stories pop up about someone discovering a valuable coin in the most unexpected place: a piggy bank, a thrift store, purchase, even a roll of pennies from the bank. Which brings us back to the 1941 wheat penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it might look like just another old coin. But if you flip it over and see those wheat stalks, check the date carefully, look at the condition, study the details. Because sometimes the difference between a 1-cent coin and a collector's treasure is something almost invisible. And the truth is, most people would spend it without thinking twice. That's exactly why these discoveries are still happening today. So here's a question for you. Have you ever checked the pennies sitting in your house right now? A lot of people keep jars of coins that have been sitting untouched for years. Inside those jars could be wheat pennies from the 1940s, or even earlier. And it only takes one rare coin to completely change the value of that entire jar. Next time you find a penny, take a second look at the date. If you see 1941, and there's no mint mark under the date, don't rush to spend it. Hold on to it. Look closer, because the coin sitting in your hand might be far more interesting and far more valuable than you ever imagined. And if you enjoy discovering hidden money hiding in everyday coins, make sure you stick around, because there are many more coins out there with incredible stories and surprising values. Some of them might even be in your pocket right now. Wait, before you spend another penny today, you might want to check your pocket change. Because a single Lincoln penny from 1954, yes, just one tiny coin, has shocked collectors by being worth thousands, and in rare cases, collectors believe the right one could be worth close to $1 million. And the craziest part? Some of these coins may still be sitting in jars, piggy banks, and forgotten coin rolls across America. Let me explain why this small copper coin has collectors searching like treasure hunters. Back in 1954, the United States Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. These were the classic coins with Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the back. They were common coins used for everyday purchases, buying candy, newspapers, or a cup of coffee. Nothing about them seemed special, but something unusual happened in Denver that year. The Denver Mint produced over 250 million pennies in 1954. Each one had a tiny D mint mark under the year on the front of the coin. Most of them were completely normal, But a very small number came out with strange details that collectors still talk about today. And these tiny details are what separate a 1-cent coin from a coin worth thousands, or potentially much more. Here's where the mystery begins. Some 1954 wheat pennies were struck using worn or damaged dies. When the metal stamp that presses the design into the coin becomes worn out, it can leave behind unusual features. Collectors started noticing something strange. On certain 1954 pennies, the letters looked thicker than normal. On others, the numbers in the date appear slightly doubled. Some coins even showed tiny cracks running through Lincoln's portrait or the wheat stalks. At first, these were dismissed as minor mint imperfections. But over time, collectors realized something important. These unusual coins were extremely rare, and rarity is what drives value in the coin world. Now here's where things get really interesting. In the early 2000s, a collector searching through old bank rolls discovered a 1954 wheat penny with a dramatic die error. The design looked slightly doubled, and the mint mark was unusually bold. At first glance, it still looked like an ordinary penny. But when experts examined it, they realized it had a rare combination of minting characteristics that collectors love. The coin eventually sold at auction for thousands of dollars, and that discovery sparked a new wave of collectors checking every 1954 penny they could find. But wait, it gets even more surprising, because the value of these coins isn't just about errors. Condition plays a massive role. Most 1954 pennies spent decades bouncing around in pockets and cash registers. They became scratched, worn, and faded. But a few coins escaped circulation. Some were tucked away in collections. Others were sealed in bank rolls and never used. And when a 1954 wheat penny survives in near-perfect condition, collectors go crazy. Coins graded in mint state, meaning they look almost brand new, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on quality. But then, there are the truly special pieces. Coins with dramatic mint errors, doubled dies, or unusual striking characteristics. Those are the coins collectors dream about. And when one appears at auction, the price can skyrocket. In fact, some high-grade Lincoln wheat pennies with rare error combinations have reached astonishing values, sometimes climbing towards six figures when collectors battle over them. And that's why rumors of a $1 million 1954 penny continue to circulate among collectors. Because if the right combination appears, ultra-rare error, perfect condition, and certified authenticity, the value could reach unbelievable territory. Now imagine this for a second. What if that coin is sitting somewhere right now? Maybe inside a jar in someone's kitchen. Maybe inside an old coin roll at the bank. Or maybe even inside a drawer in your own house. It sounds crazy, but discoveries like this happen all the time. Collectors regularly find valuable coins hiding in everyday pocket change. And that's exactly why people across the country are still searching. How do you know if your 1954 wheat penny could be special? First, look at the front of the coin. Check the year carefully. If it says 1954, the next step is to look right below the date for a tiny letter. If you see a D mint mark, that means it was made in Denver. The variety collectors are watching closely. Next, look at the details. Do the numbers in the date look thicker than usual? Do any letters appear doubled? Is the mint mark bold or slightly misplaced? And most importantly, how good is the condition? If the coin still has sharp details, strong lines in the wheat stalks, and very little wear, it could be worth getting checked by a professional coin grading service. Because sometimes what looks like an ordinary penny can turn out to be something far more valuable. And here's the truth that surprises most people. Rare coins are discovered by ordinary people, not just professional collectors. Some of the biggest finds in coin history came from people simply checking their spare change. That's why this tiny copper coin from 1954 continues to capture attention decades later, because hidden treasures don't always look like treasure. Sometimes they look like a penny. So here's a quick challenge for you. Take a moment later today and check any pennies you have lying around. Look for the year 1954. Look for the tiny D and look closely for unusual details, because the next incredible discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden money like this, make sure you stick around, because there are dozens of everyday coins still in circulation that could secretly be worth thousands, or even life-changing money. And you definitely don't want to spend one of them by accident. Right now, there's one specific coin collectors are desperately searching for. It's the 1956 wheat penny with a D mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another old penny. Copper color, Abraham Lincoln on the front, wheat stalks on the back. Nothing flashy, nothing rare, or so it seems. But hidden inside a tiny detail of this coin is a mistake, a rare combination of features that has turned some of these pennies into unbelievable treasures. And yes, some of them have sold for life-changing money. So before you ignore the pennies in your pocket, or that jar of coins sitting somewhere in your house, you might want to look a little closer. Because one small detail on a 1956 D wheat penny could change everything. Back in 1956, the United States Mint was producing millions of pennies every single day. Most of them were struck at the Denver Mint, which is why you'll see a small D mint mark under the date on many of these coins. More than 1.09 billion 1956 D pennies were made. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But here's where things start to get interesting. During the minting process, coins are struck using metal dies. Over time, these dies wear out, crack, or shift slightly. When that happens, strange things can appear on the coins being produced. Sometimes letters double. Sometimes numbers look stretched. Sometimes parts of the design appear thicker than normal. Most people never notice these differences. To the average person, a penny is just a penny. But to collectors, these tiny mistakes can mean everything. And that's exactly what happened with certain 1956 D wheat pennies. Some of these coins were struck with subtle but powerful minting errors. One of the most talked about varieties is a double die effect. This means parts of the design appear slightly doubled, especially in the lettering or numbers. Now here's the crazy part. When collectors find a strong example of a double die, especially on a well-preserved coin, the value can skyrocket. But that's not the only thing that makes some 1956 D pennies valuable. Condition plays a massive role. Most pennies from the 1950s spent decades being used in everyday transactions. They were dropped into cash registers, carried in pockets, scraped against other coins, and slowly worn down. But every once in a while, a coin survives almost perfectly. Maybe it was stored in a roll at the bank. Maybe someone saved it in a collection. Maybe it sat untouched in a jar for decades. When a 1956 D wheat penny is discovered in near-perfect condition, something magical happens. Collectors start bidding, and the numbers climb fast. Some high-grade examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. But the real shock comes when a rare variety and incredible condition come together in the same coin. That's when things start reaching jaw-dropping territory. Imagine a penny that looks almost brand new. Sharp wheat stalks, crisp lettering, bright copper color, and a rare minting variety that collectors have been searching for. Suddenly that 1-cent coin doesn't look so ordinary anymore. At major auctions, rare wheat pennies like these have stunned collectors with prices that seem impossible. $5,000, $10,000, sometimes even more. And while most 1956 D pennies won't reach those numbers, the possibility is what keeps collectors searching through rolls of coins every single day, because history has proven something again and again. Rare coins don't always start in museums. They start in circulation. They start in piggy banks. They start in old jars sitting on kitchen counters. And the person who finds them often has no idea what they discovered until a collector takes a closer look. Now here's something that might surprise you even more. Millions of wheat pennies are still out there today. People find them in pocket change. Coin roll hunters pull them from bank rolls. Some even show up in garage sales and flea markets. And occasionally, someone spots one that looks a little different. Maybe the date looks doubled. Maybe the mint mark looks unusual. Maybe the coin just looks too perfect to be ordinary. That's when curiosity kicks in, because one tiny difference could mean the coin is worth far more than 1 cent. So here's a quick challenge for you. Think about where your loose coins are right now. Maybe there's a jar in your kitchen. Maybe there's a drawer full of change. Maybe there's an old coin collection that hasn't been touched in years. Somewhere in that pile, there could be a wheat penny. And if you find one dated 1956, the next thing you should do is look directly under the date. If you see a small D, you might be holding a 1956 D wheat penny. Then check the lettering carefully. Look for signs of doubling. Look at the overall condition. Sharp edges, bright copper color, and strong details can make a massive difference in value. Even if it's not worth thousands, collectors still love wheat pennies because they're pieces of American history. Each one was minted more than 60 years ago, during a completely different era. Back when a penny could actually buy something. Back when millions of these coins were quietly entering circulation, with no one imagining that collectors decades later would be hunting them down. And yet, here we are today, people searching through jars of change, hoping to spot that one coin everyone else overlooked. Because sometimes the smallest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. So take a minute and check your coins. Look for wheat pennies. Look for the date 1956. And if you spot the tiny D mint mark, take a closer look. You might just discover that the penny you almost ignored is worth far more than you ever imagined. And if you enjoy discovering hidden money like this, make sure you stick around, because there are dozens of other coins still hiding in everyday change that could be worth thousands, sometimes even more.